Assalamu alaikum dear student and all viewers. Welcome to the class physics. Dear student, today our topic is representation of a vectors. Before representation of a vectors, we want to know about what is vectors. Dear student, in a previous lecture or in a previous chapter, I upload many videos on the what is vectors, what is physical quantities. So there are two types of physical quantities. One is base physical quantities and the another one is derived physical quantities. So in this chapter we will distinguish, we will make difference among between that physical quantities and this physical quantities, because in this chapter we will discuss there are two types of physical quantities. One is vector quantities, the another one is scalar quantities. So what is scalar quantities? Before the vectors we will discuss only a little bit on scalar quantities. So what is scalar quantities? Those physical quantity which completely specified only on their magnitude is called scalar quantities. Mean non-directional quantities are called scalar quantities. Simply we can say, what is vector quantities? So those physical quantity which required both magnitude and direction for their complete description is called vector quantities. So vector quantities is equal to magnitude plus direction. For example, acceleration is a vector quantity, velocity is a vector quantity, displacement is a vector quantity, momentum is a vector quantity, force is a vector quantity, etc. So now how we will represent vector quantities? There are two types, there are two methods which we represent vector quantities. One is symbolically representation and the another one is graphical representation. Symbolically, dear student, keep in mind, we will represent or we are represent vectors by English letters. Small letter, we can use small letter as well as we can use capital letter. So if we represent a vector by English letter, bold-faced letter, so we can also represent number though, two number. If we write a simple English letter, small or capital, we will draw arrow above or below the letter. So we can say that this is our vector. For example, this is our vector A. We draw arrow above the A. So this is represent A only, not a vector quantity. If we draw a arrow above this A, so now this A represent vector quantity. This A represent vector quantity because we draw a arrow below the A. This A represent vector quantity and this A also represent vector quantity. Dear student, rule number 3, we will represent the magnitude of a vector by A modulus, B modulus, C modulus, D. We can use any alphabet from A to Z. We can also represent by X. So the magnitude of X is X modulus. The magnitude of Y is Y modulus. The magnitude of Z is Z modulus, etc. Now we will represent a unit vector. For example, this is a vector A, but we draw arrow above the A. Now if I wanted to find the direction of this A, so we will write A and we will write cap, not arrow, and above the A. So this A represent vector and this A represent direction. So unit vector, what is unit vector? Unit vector, those vector which is magnitude is equal to 1 is called unit vector. So this was all about representation of a vector. Inshallah, tomorrow we will discuss graphical representation of a vector. Do study. Wish you best of luck.